So we're here at Síolta Chroí, just outside Carrickmacross, County Monaghan. I'm Conan. I've been here since 2020. So it's a cooperative organisation. We're involved in restoring the ecosystems of the earth. That's through regenerative cultures, regenerative food systems. We see ourselves as part of nature. We're restoring nature, but we're also restoring ourselves. So the healing of the person and the healing of the communities and the healing of the land are not separate sort of issues. They're all interlinked, they're interwoven. So healing soil and healing rivers, healing people and healing animals.
So for us, soil is a really good way to start the conversation, as well as offering many opportunities to restore the soil and figuring out ways that can restore us as individuals, as citizens. And it gives us a really tangible way to do something practical in our own local spaces, and joined up all those different local spaces add up to a bigger movement of soil restoration, of healing our own small space and healing for ourselves too.
In the way that we treat the soil right now, in our chemical, monocultural, very intensive industrial agricultural systems, the soil is degrading faster than it ever has before. It's much more visible in Africa or in other places than it is out here, because we still have green in Ireland, we still have that climate, we still have that water available. But the soil is getting compacted, it's losing its structure, it's losing its microbiology, and it's losing its integrity and ability to act as a sponge and to facilitate that plant growth and rejuvenation. We did a regenerative agriculture course for farmers. People had 5 jars, and in the different 5 jars were 5 different soil samples. And even people from the city, whether you're from a poor area in the city or an affluent area in the city or the countryside, and you knew the difference between different soils, people just by smelling the soil could tell the difference between what was good and what was bad, and how each soil was related to what was around it. So it's not something that you need to have experience in, it's sort of inherently in our being. We've not lost it.
So there's lessons we can still take today from Gortamore. The potato failed, and the Irish people were reliant on one variety mainly of potato, and that monocultural approach to farming was a legacy of how our food was being controlled, and controlling the food is one really good way to control the people. But when we look at how we interact with food in today's world, not much has really changed. We're still propping up this monocultural economy. We're propping up a form of agriculture that encourages people to buy imported food and the limited varieties of the food that we're eating, taking back control of our seeds, taking back control of our food from the big companies that are making huge profits from it. That is one way that we can learn lessons from Gortamore and apply it to today's world. So supporting localised food systems, supporting local food hubs, growing our own, saving our seed, all these are ways to talk to our own history in a way that can feel quite empowering to grow this movement of food and seed sovereignty in this country.
Permaculture is about 3 simple principles of earth care, people care and fair share. It's about a new systems way of thinking. So stepping out of the system that we're in and looking at a specific, policy area, for example, that a politician might say the health system is broken and this is the way to fix it. It's a bit of a revolution, but disguised as gardening. Actually stepping back and saying, right, how does the sun impact on this, or the shade, or the wind, or the direction of the water flow through the system? It kind of just gets you to step back and observe from outside of the system that you're trying to do. So if you've got a problem with slugs, you don't have a slug infestation, you've got a duck deficiency. It's kind of reframing your problems. We're also working on the ecosystems that are our catchments, the rivers that flow, say the bottom of the hill there, flows down to the sea. But we're connected to the neighbour who lives across the other side of the valley, or the guy who lives up the stream or down the stream. And we're having those conversations now about how we restore the ecosystem of the catchment, and then beyond that then the county or the country. Starting with the patch that we have and being aware of what we're doing here and how that impacts on the other areas around. The neighbours are working inside their industrial agricultural systems. They have one output, which is either beef or milk. They're intensively farming that land to have that end product and have money come in the door. But that's not in harmony with what nature wants, and it's driving birds out, bees out. Anything that sort of doesn't fit with their own end product isn't important. And it's very intensively managed for that one particular purpose. When on Gortamore happened, the people were eating just the lumper potato, for example, and then one fungus comes and kills that one crop. If you have nothing else to eat, if you have nothing else to rely on, all your eggs are in that one basket, and that's failed. So what's your backup plan? Our approach to it is that it's sort of a multi-layered system. There's, trees on the top, and we have got a pond for water. Like, there's integrated systems, and if, for example, we have a drought one year, the trees are more deeply rooted, so we'll have maybe fruit from the trees. There's more resilience in the system because there's more systems in play.
So when we think about climate change, when we think about biodiversity loss, when we think about food insecurity, when we think about forced migration and some of these issues, it can feel very, very overwhelming. And yet soil, and listening to the soil and working with the soil in a restorative way, can be one way to tangibly and in a very tactile way do something on our one little patch that can contribute to something a bit bigger. So imagine if everybody got to know their own soil, got to know their soil's needs, and started working with the soil as part of a wider ecosystem restoration, as part of a wider ecosystem revolution, a soil revolution happening. That's what we would love to see, and that the soil and people and wider nature are in more harmonious balance.